Guys, I am with Rexhep, one of the most coveted and yet mysterious somehow watchmakers in the independent space. This is the only brand I know of that no matter how much money you have, you cannot find that watch. And there's a reason behind it, and we're going to ask him in person as to why that is. 2012, I believe, is when this brand started, and back then, who is this Rexhep guy? I can't pronounce his name. Right? He's got the weirdest name in the world, right? Like, is it Z? Is it H? Is it G? Nobody really knew, right? He is now one of the most exclusive independent watchmakers. Rexhep, thank you so much for taking the time. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Okay, thank God.
Double R, like Rolls Royce.
So,
Rick Ross.
I guess, no, Nico, no.
Sorry.
So most independent watchmakers, they're not the biggest money makers out there, right? And you look at conglomerates like Richemont Group, a Swatch Group, and you see them making billions upon billions, and yet you manage to keep your composure in a place where I've seen your watch fetch over $800,000 in auction, a watch 10x its retail value. You have full-blown control over your own watches, yet to still choose to sell them at their MSRP to your collector friends over and over and over. How difficult is it not to reach for that forbidden fruit and actually give way and say, you know what, I would like to buy a bigger villa, let me just sell some of these on the secondary market somewhere. Because I know I cannot get your watches no matter how hard I try. 21 years in the business, I've seen 2 of your watches in person, that's it. How do you keep that composure?
Honestly, I started watchmaking because I'm just passionate. I think this come from my father. My father used to live in Switzerland since '76, so I grew up in Kosovo. And when he comes to see us, he always have a watch. So sometimes you're trying to take care of him this watch to look at, and it stay in your head. So you associate watches, father. And when we came in Switzerland, I realized very quickly that you are in a country of watches. And I want to become a watchmaker because I found it very interesting, And when I came into industry, I realized that it's not really how I dream. It would be not like you have an idea, you take some metal and you build your watch, It was not like this. So at the end you can complain, or you can choose to try to do something. And this is why I started to having my workshop, and I started slowly. And it's true, you believe on something, you're a dreamer, and you say, when you will do your watch, you will do your best and everybody will be after you. It was not like this, So we've been through many steps. Yeah. We see some years ago, and it was not easy, but I think it's like many other things. But everything is natural today for us. Organic, I would say, because we face something, we're trying to learn, we're trying to experiment this. It's really important to think long term, and I feel just more safe, to feel comfortable, to trying to do my best, to seeing where I will put my feet, everywhere in watchmaking. You're trying to do your best, you're trying to do the best quality, trying to bring some design, and I don't know, it became kind of discipline. So today I wake up in the morning and I just want to do something that is better than yesterday. One day, people will remember that we did something good.
I truly believe that when we're long gone, all of us sitting here, that these are the watches that are going to become the norm. Because right now, if you look at the watch industry going back a couple of 100 years, if you look at all the watches, most of them look the same. Most of them are made the same. Felix said it, he's like, we don't make a tourbillon, we don't make a perpetual because it's done, so we try to make something new that 100 years from now, people will look at it and say, okay, well now that's the standard. And then the young guns will come in and create something avant-garde and so on and so forth. But I think that what speaks specifically from your watches to collectors, and I know a lot of your collectors that own your watches and the way they talk about it is, this is what Nico says all the time, the passion gets lost between the big guys versus the little guys. But a collector today can still feel the passion of a watchmaker come through into the watch, and then they put it on there as they feel the passion.
That's the reason why they choose a specific watchmaker. They don't choose a brand, they choose a watchmaker. They don't choose a piece of furniture, they choose a designer. It's art. They don't choose a painting. No,
Which is why people ask me why I took a big liking to Max Büsser is because Max Büsser sits there and gives credit to every single individual that has worked on the watch. Mm-hmm. The dial is made by somebody, the name is there, right?
Yeah.
And that's why he's Max Büsser and Friends. And as you said, choosing a watchmaker or a designer to buy something will sing to an individual more. And today, if you ask 9 out of 10 collector who makes tourbillons for Breguet or AP, they don't know. Which is why I choose AP, because I feel that Gerald Genta was one of the greatest designers of his time and so far ahead of his time. And that's something that I hope, and I kind of see it coming back, and it's guys like you that bring back that passion in collectors to where like, well, I don't want another Rolex, even though it sells at 2 times its retail price. The issue is now you've gotten to a point, your popularity has rose so much that now you see your watch fetching 8x or 10x on auctions. And how do you compose yourself to continually keep in that small, unique, tiny production because what are you, 40 watches a year?
Honestly, we're trying to do our best. But again, the way that we're doing today, it's if I can do more, honestly, I will do more.
Of course.
What you said, we had the conversation the other day. I was like, I remember when I first met you, when you were starting the brand, you looked at me and there were like maybe 2 people in the workshop.
Yeah, 2 people.
Other than you. And he's like, no one's allowed in here to be a watchmaker. They're not like the Michael Jordan of watchmaking.
This is a watchmaker's shop. And that's really the difference.
When I take sometimes some of the watches, vintage watches, you have something. You have some imperfection, but you have some soul. So, I'm talking a lot about soul, but for me, the way that we're doing, and this is why I'm trying to integrate all the métier. We still prefer to doing things in-house, because I believe that you will develop one way of thinking, which doesn't mean that it's your best way or it's the best
But
watch.
it's your way.
But it's your way. So until I don't feel this on my watch, I will not do it. In the future, I hope everything that we'll bring will be something innovative, more innovative. And if you get all this together, I think you got it,
In the near future, do you see having the capacity to go to 100 pieces a year, which is still a very, very small production?
Honestly, if I can, why not? But you don't know. Sometimes you're doing like some more complex watch, so it take you more time. Sometimes you're doing more simple watch, so can be more fast. But
let's be honest, part of you too, when you started this, like it was just all about your passion. So I think he didn't expect all this to happen.
No,
so
for sure.
sometimes you're just kind of like trying to figure out like, what do I do?
You're stumbling along the way. It's called growing pains.
You probably thought still today you'd be like maybe selling all your watches, but not this. You didn't think it would be like.
No, for sure.
I'm sure.
For sure not. But
so for you trying to keep up with everything.
Yeah, but one thing is it's true that we're trying to do better and better and better. But one other thing, I didn't have the background of watchmaking. I didn't have my father was a watchmaker and teaching all this. So I learned this. What is incredible, we all of us, we look in the industry and we're seeing a Philippe Dufour or we're seeing another guy and we say, oh, what is he doing, 10 watches? Or we're seeing George Daniels, oh, he did just 36 watches. So you want to do something that is rare, right? But here, for example, in Geneva, you have still some challenges. The rent. You're developing a movement. When you're developing a movement, it's different than when you're taking an emotion. This is a really huge difference, guys. But really huge difference. People can't understand that when you develop a movement, you're doing 25 watches, doing 25 cases, 25 movement, and it's done. It's finished. It's finished. It's finished. You don't have any more. You can. So if you're selling 25 watches at 500, if you're counting, it's not that much.
They look at watchmakers, especially independent watchmakers, as this allures, this magical, company. What they also tend to forget is it's also a business. You still need to pay a secretary. You still need to pay for the lights. You still need to pay rental income and things of that nature. The collectors see the hype, they see the name, they see it's impossible to get, but with the same token, they forget, but this is still a business that you need to run in the green. At the end of the day, you have to pay your bills, you have to pay your people, and people never ever almost understand cost of development. And Jason, out of all people, understands what it takes to develop a movement from scratch, how many years, how much money it costs. R&D is some of the most expensive thing in this industry, and people tend to look past that. But if you look at independent watchmakers throughout, from the big guys to the little guys, these are the guys that bring into light the information that's so long forgotten. Because guess what? Not too long ago, there were guys sitting in a workshop cutting every wheel by hand. And people lose sight of that. They don't understand just how difficult it is to execute and what it takes to get a brand from A to Z, and with all the challenges, all the growing pains. Yeah, it'd be nice to take a couple of watches and sell them at auction for $1 million. It certainly would be a help, but yet you still are able
not
to...
my job. I'm watchmaker,
You're
you
still able to restrain yourself from doing all those things because you are in control of your own watches, and you're still putting those watches on the wrist, which I think is absolutely amazing. And I don't know what I would do if I was in your shoes, to be honest. But again, I'm talking from a commerce perspective, right? So it's a little difficult.
What you see is a rarity in our industry. It's authenticity, you know? It's pure passion. It's love. It's whatever it is. Like if I would ask you a question, if you could go back in time and you would invent one complication, which one would it be?
You know, I would say most useful. So I would say perpetual calendar. You know, but before that, you have to have accuracy. So I would say a chronometer. You know, just to give my time.
If you have all the options, would it be just the definition of tracking time, or would it be a perpetual calendar?
A good chronometer with a perpetual calendar.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you guys are busy. There's like 50 people waiting in for appointments, but I appreciate you taking this time. I appreciate you, maybe lifting the curtain up a little bit, because at the end of the day, an independent watchmaker, it's not about the brand, it's not about the name, and it's not about how much they sell at auction. It's about the human being that's behind it. So to me, that's awesome. I love the fact that you agreed to meet with us and have this little quick interview. Nico, nice hat. But
stay true to myself.
The only thing I ask, maybe one of these days, when you're not as busy and perhaps you have the capacity to make more, perhaps I can have one made for myself as well. Thank you so much, Rexhep.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And thank you.
You're a legend, man.
Hey,
Legend.
thank you very much.
Honestly,
Thank
well
you.
done.